Okay, hopefully you had some success with this problem. In this section, we're going to walk through one possible solution. Now, the first solution that we're going to start off with is by far the easiest one. However, it's also not necessarily the most obvious one. So this one requires a little bit of trivia knowledge of JavaScript in general. So rather than going and writing out the solution right away, I'm going to show you a little bit of documentation. And as soon as you see this documentation, you might have an "oh" type moment. So let's take a look. So inside my browser, I'm going to open up the documentation for array prototype reverse. Reverse is a built-in function that is included with all versions of JavaScript, or I should say most recent versions. The reverse function right here will reverse all of the elements within a given array. And you can very easily see with the documentation right here, we have 1, 2, 3. The reverse method is called on it, and then A contains 3, 2, 1 instead. Now this is very important to note here, a method that belongs to all arrays, but we were passed a string. So in order to use this very easy, very simple, straightforward solution right here, we need to make sure that we are working with an array, not a string. Fortunately, we can use a little method to convert our string into an array, call the reverse method on it, and then turn it back into a string. So if we put this into a kind of flow diagram, here's what we get. So we're going to take in that str, short for string, argument. We're going to turn it into an array. We'll call reverse on it. We'll join that array back into a string and then return the result. So let's give this a shot. Back inside my code editor, I'm going to take this str, short for string, argument, and we'll turn it into an array. So I'll say const arr. I like to abbreviate array as simply arr, by the way. And we'll call string.split and pass in an empty string. So when we call split and pass in an empty string, it takes the provided string and turns it into an array with every element in that array consisting of a different character from the string. So right here with arr, we're now working with an array of characters. We can call arr.reverse. That will flip or reverse all the elements within the array. And then finally, we can join it all back together again by calling arr.join and passing in an empty string there as well. So this will join all those elements back into a string. And then finally, we'll make sure we return the result. So I'm going to put my return keyword in here. So let's save this, check our tests, and see how we're doing. So I'll save the file. I'll check on my terminal. It looks like all of our tests are successfully passing. Cool. So like I said, this was a solution that kind of relied on a little bit of trivia. Now it's entirely possible that you took a different solution, so we're still going to cover two other possible solutions, one that uses a for loop and another that uses an array helper. I do really recommend you check out these other two solutions that we're going to take a look at, because both of them you might be required to give one of these other solutions. Your interviewer might say, hey, don't cheat and use that reverse helper. So we will look at two other solutions that take care of this process manually. Before we go, however, I want to point out that we can do a little bit of code cleanup to make this function a little bit more concise than it is. Notice how right now we split our string into an array and assign it to this variable. We then call reverse on it, and then we join it back together. So in fact, we don't really need to make use of this temporary variable right here. We could simply call reverse on the result of this expression and then call join on the result of that. So let's look at that alternate solution. That's just going to kind of clean up our code here a little bit. So I'm going to delete everything and I will return str.split. So that's going to give us our our array of characters. We'll call reverse on that, which will reverse all the elements within that array, and then we will join it all back together, like so. Now when I save the file, I have a built-in little code formatter, so you'll notice that my formatter automatically splits it out to a couple lines here, but it's all 100% equivalent to the code we just were looking at a second ago. So I'll save this file, and if I go back over to my terminal again, it looks like the tests are still passing. Great, so this is one possible solution. Let's pause right now, continue in the next section, and look at another possible solution.